For a very long time, I used to look down on people with mental health issues. I would see them as being weaker, as being unmotivated, just needing to be more positive, just needing to snap out of it and just get on with it and stop thinking about this and just be positive. Because that's what I was like. I read hundreds of personal development books in my early 20s. I was very motivated. I applied myself to everything I did and I was a high achiever. And I couldn't understand people that had mental health struggles, depression, anxiety. I just thought they were weaker and just making excuses. Then I got chronically ill and went through protracted withdrawals a couple of times. And isn't it amazing how sometimes it takes actually going through something before your perspective can change and you can understand something and recognize what other people are going through. If you know anything about protracted withdrawals and the horror that goes on in the mind, you understand that the brain receptors are just ripped open, the brain chemistry is thrown into chaos. You experience undescribable levels of anxiety and depression and hopelessness and overwhelm, and your brain is just not your own. And it is just, you can't even put it into words. It's a struggle to even get through a day, and you can feel like your life is over. And when that happens, it brings you to a place where you say, wow, there are a lot of people that are going through a lot of things that I've never understood. And it brings you to a place of empathy. It brings you to a place of understanding, and it just moves your heart to care for people. And you can even recognize there are other struggles that you haven't been through, that people have been through, that maybe you don't understand. And I think to myself now, I used to be so quick to judge people, to label people because of what they were going through. But now I feel a compassion in my heart towards people that are going through mental health issues, and a care towards these people, and I just want to come alongside them so they feel a little bit less alone, so they know that someone understands. It's very easy to just speak to people with no understanding and just quote back to them, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Take every thought captive and obedient to Christ. And these thoughts are true. These truths are in the Bible. But if we're speaking out these truths without an empathy, without a compassion, without a love, they just become empty words to people, and people won't be receptive to the words that we have to speak to them. People will look down upon other people that are going through things. Even churches and certain people with certain theologies will say, well, you just have demons. Mental health has no place in Jesus' name. You need that demon cast out of you. All of this nonsense. It's craziness. And then people become more condemned. They become more trapped. It's just a hard journey, people that are going through some of the things they are in the world. And some of it is because their brain chemistry is out of balance. Some of it is because people are unable to cope as well as other people. And we can just love and care for people no matter where they're at. Now, this doesn't give someone an excuse to stay where they are. I have been through so much, but I am moving forward. On days I've cried, on days I've felt like my life is over, on days I've wanted to give up. I'm not even sure how I could get through another day. Fortunately, things have become easier as the brain has healed more and more. But I've been to the lowest of lows and felt trapped beyond trapped. But you still have a choice in that moment. I'm not saying to just think positive and everything and you'll feel better and all of that. But we still have a choice of, are we going to take the steps to help ourselves? Are we going to draw closer to God and come before Him, pray and read His Word, even when we don't feel like there's any hope, especially when we don't feel like there's any hope? Or are we just going to sit there and not help ourselves? It's not so much about what you go through. Everyone goes through different things. And God understands if you're someone who is going through so much, it might be physical, it might be mental, and there's not much you can do. God understands that, and He's not asking you to do the same as someone else that's not in that position, But what he's asking you is to just come before him and trust him. And that might even be a prayer like, God, just help me. God, I don't even feel like I can trust you. Help me to trust you. Help me to even be able to trust you. And just continue to be faithful in as many of the smallest things as possible. God knows our frame. He remembers that we are dust, it says in Psalm 103. So I just want to say to you, friends, if you're someone that's struggling and you're not okay right now, it's okay to not be okay. Don't let the church, don't let Christians, don't let people try to tell you that you're in sin because of where you're at. It's not a sin to have these emotions of depression and anxiety, but it becomes a sin when we don't honour God with the choices that we make. We can experience these things, but we can choose how we respond to these things. And I'm not talking about responding perfectly or anything like that, but even just coming before God in the midst of it is a great act of faith and saying, God, I have no idea what to do. I can't go on anymore. Just help me, Lord. That's a prayer of humility. It's a prayer of dependence. It's a prayer that honours God. So don't be discouraged by what you can't do or the emotions you're not feeling or because you're not where you want to be. Just always bring it back to God and just come before him. He knows, he understands, he loves you. And he will honour even that mustard seed of faith that you have, because it's not about the amount of faith that you have, but the presence of any genuine faith, even that tiny mustard seed of faith. So keep persevering, brothers and sisters. I know that it's hard, but one step at a time. And in the end, it will all be worth it. Fear God and keep his commandments. That is the whole duty of man. Keep going. Keep going. There are many of us on the same journey. And God is also on the journey with you. Leave your comments below and I look forward to talking to you soon. God bless you, brothers and sisters.